We've got a wholesome one. This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill.
This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social. Sorry, go on.
How are you, Eduardo?
Very well. You're actually, I'll give you your props. I mean, I don't know about the sweat patches, not the best.
Humid.
Did you run today? You're just sweating. Never a good sign. But I actually think today, do you know why today works? Because you're not actually trying that hard.
No, I've just thought a little subtle thing.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got that Gucci chain that you either won in a competition or bought on a beach somewhere in the Mediterranean. But, you know, on we go. But yeah, I think you look well. You actually look quite, no, not really the shoes, but you actually look quite cool today. Like,
Thank you, mate. I've got something quite wholesome, actually. I said to you before the start of the interview. It's A-level results day today.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I did my first ever press conference, Smith Fowler. Now, this isn't actually the Parsons trumpet, and look at me, I've done so well. Actually, I want to thank you, because over 2 years, you've not had to give me the access you have. We've got on like a house on fire, which has helped. Had some great moments, but 2 years in, I had the offer to go to university post A-levels, decided not to go with it. I'm here now. I would say probably the right decision.
yeah, and why don't we just make this the Charlie Parsons show? Me. 2 years ago, I did this. Oh, look at me now. Oh, I'm not saying I made the right decision, but didn't I make the right decision? But thank you, Charlie, for just bringing me up within that self-praising exercise for you.
I was actually saying thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. So your first show was Smith Fowler?
Well, that was my first press conference, and then first Matchroom show, yeah.
2 years ago. Well done, boy.
Thank you, mate.
You've grafted. And I think the main thing is, not only have you grafted, but you've just been persistent. You've annoyed people, and you're still doing that today. So well done. I've seen your interviews, because I look at our numbers, continue to rise. I think you're a massive asset for Boxing Social. Make sure they reward you sufficiently for those services. And I think now you are, you know, who knows how long you're going to do this for. But if you go and do this for another 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you may establish yourself as one of the key players of British boxing media. And you're only a baby. Congratulations.
What nice words to start the interview. Eddie, thank you very much. Yeah, I know, more like it. We're here, Birmingham, NXTGen, Yafai Frank. It's the shortest train journey I've ever had to take to a fight week.
Me.
Excited for Galal Yafai. I hear tickets are doing really well. I was just speaking to Sol. He says he's had to ask for even more tickets. That's always a good sign when coming to a newish place, right?
Yeah, you know, Birmingham's weird selling tickets. You actually don't sell that many at the box office, but the fighters sell a lot of tickets, right? So when you've got you know, everyone's doing 300 or 400. I think Ibrahim has done 500 with JK. Like, all of a sudden, that comes up to 4,000. You're thinking, blimey, it's only a NXTGen. You know, I mean, these shows are designed to give our younger talent the opportunity to showcase themselves under pressure, under the bright lights, later on the fight card. Galal Yafai, I think, is one of the best prospects in world boxing. And I think that, obviously, this fight is a good opportunity for him to fight a domestic fight against someone that's really going to come and try and win the fight, but show his levels. And I only see him as 2 or 3 fights away from a world title. In the division, you're talking about Jesse Rodriguez, Julio Cesar Martinez, Sonny Edwards. But he's sparred a lot of those guys, you know, and he thinks he can beat them. But he's just going to need that championship experience over the next 10 to 12 months. And honestly, then he'll be ready.
Moving forward, Anthony Joshua off the back of last week. Now you've had a little bit of time to sort of reflect and look back. I know that there were meetings held yesterday, which we'll go into, but big one-punch KO. Moving forward, did you like to see him sort of put his punches together a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's difficult when you've got 5 days' notice against a tall, rangy opponent. And there's a lot on the line. You know, in every interview, it's like, wow, if you lose to Helenius, your career's over. So you are probably going to be a little bit more careful. I think if he can be a little bit more aggressive with the style that he's adopted, with the way he's improved his feet, his movement, his defence, his distance, I think he's going to be, you know, it's difficult to say unbeatable, but I think he beats everyone. I've always thought that. I'm so confident he beats Deontay Wilder. And the thing is about Deontay Wilder, who I like, by the way, and I think he's a really dangerous heavyweight, but there isn't much substance to his resume or his wins. And it's like, you're really making AJ that big an underdog. You know, it's 1 round fight. It's like, really? So tell me Deontay Wilder's wins, and I keep saying it. Like, the only win on his resume is Luis Ortiz, who is aging, right, and was winning the fight first time and won every round in the second fight until he got knocked out. That's his only win of anyone you can say is a legitimate top 10 heavyweight.
In a weird way, would you? I get what you're saying. Resume. No. I get your point.
So tell me Deontay Wilder's top 10 wins. Like Luis Ortiz, and that's it.
Would you argue that the third Fury fight, given what happened in the second Fury fight, is I know it's like you get no points for second best, but given Fury being the best in the division and the performance Wilder went and put in when everyone wrote him off, he put in a better performance in the second fight. Does that?
Yeah, but he lost, he got knocked out. I mean, he can punch. But I'm not saying he's not good, and I'm not saying he can't, he's not dangerous. He's all of those things. But you can't look at who AJ's beaten and who Wilder's beaten and just say that's a one-round fight. I mean, it's bizarre. And when AJ beats Deontay Wilder, I will play this back and say, I told you. If you don't, this is going to be a mare. But just putting that at the end. But I truly believe AJ beats Wilder. Don't get me wrong. Wilder can knock anybody out. But I see us as a big favourite in that fight.
Alycia Baumgardner, we saw the statements come out yesterday. The test is I don't even know why I try and read these out. You can go and have a look online if you want to see what the substance is. Do you have any more comment yesterday since the statement? A little bit disappointing?
Yeah, always disappointing. Look, it's a nightmare for Matchroom. It's a nightmare for Alycia. It's a nightmare for boxing. And, I've spoken to her. Obviously, she passed an earlier test. She also passed the test a couple of days later on fight night. She's protesting her innocence. She says she doesn't understand it, and now she's going to have to go through that process to prove her innocence. We'll support her in any way possible. We hope, of course, she's innocent, but we also have to respond to the adverse finding. We found this out at the weekend. Of course, the governing bodies, the commission were all notified, and ultimately we needed to allow Alycia to get herself in we know this situation is confidential, but once you tell the governing bodies, they're then going to tell the media. So you get to a situation where the information is going to come out at some point. A nightmare, in all honesty. But we have to deal with it. And it looks like the governing bodies are already going through that process of dealing with it.
How can a test be completed on the 12th of the 7th, I believe 3 or 4 days before the fight, with no result until the 12th of the 8th? It was 9 days to get to the lab and 30 days for the result. We know that before you were a little bit upset with drug-free sport because of the Cordina Rakimov. Rakimov was just allowed to go UKAD, with no test post-fight. Okay, UKAD. But this was also with drug-free sport. A little bit more questioning as to why it's not being done sooner?
It's very standard. Actually, when there's a positive test, having spoke to Drug-Free Sport yesterday, Kevin Rooney did, who handles that testing on behalf of Matchroom's relationship with Drug-Free Sport. When there's a positive test, I believe that sample is then retested to confirm that. Do you understand? So I think that's part of the delay. I checked across the VADA, something called a chain of command. So when you take a sample, the whole process from when that is taken to its trip to the laboratory to that process is recorded, and that has been sent to Matchroom as well. VADA, looking at some of the collections, particularly from the Anthony Joshua and Dillian White fight, same kind of time to test the sample. Normally their results come back in about 3 weeks. This, I believe, is just under 4 weeks and a little bit longer, probably because it was a positive test. And in all honesty, probably because it was post-fight. So there's less urgency. And I've seen some people online today saying, oh, she went into the fight. Obviously, if you're testing 3 days before the fight, it is impossible to get those, under the VADA process, under the drug-free sport program, to get those results before then, especially on fight night. If you want to have that attitude, what's the point in testing on fight night? The fight's already take place. Because we need to see the results, and we need to make sure that it puts people off using performance-enhancing drugs. So the time period was probably a few days longer than a traditional VADA, not in terms of the collection to test, but in terms of the results. And I would presume that's because it was a positive sample, and they probably retested the sample to check that before sending the official chain of command and all the scientific analysis from the laboratory, which is the same laboratory as VADA in Salt Lake City.
Okay, lastly from me, I can't not ask you, we've just seen the breaking news that the appeal for Conor Benn's case is going on. They have launched the appeal. I believe that they had 1 or 2 more days left to do it within the sort of time slot they were given. I think you said to Gareth A. Davies on Tuesday on the Boxing Social podcast, shout out, that you expected an appeal. It's now officially been launched. Does this hinder the fact that I think he was looking to fight 30th of September? What's the process now moving forward?
Look, it's disappointing. I feel like he's gone through every process that's been asked of him. The board left it till the last day or 2 days before to appeal again. He's got to go through this process again. I believe he'll win again, but I expected it, as I said. You know, I nothing surprises me at the moment with the process. It's another fight he's got to win. We expect him to win. He can fight now. He has an international licence. He can ask for permission to box in the UK. He's not suspended by UKAD. I don't believe they can stop him. It would be a strange move to not allow him to fight in the UK, but he could also fight in America now. He's not suspended by UKAD, he's not suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. But I don't think this process is one of huge length. So we'll get with the team tomorrow, we've got a meeting, and then we'll look at the process. But just another small fight to win in the Conor Benn journey.
Why do you believe they've left it so late to lodge the appeal?
No comment.
Oh, that's like the first no comment I've ever got off you, Edward.
You don't even need me to answer that question.
I do, for clickbait. Eduardo, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to catching up tomorrow at the